Hey everybody, welcome to DadsDen of Pop Culture and Justice League Monday. Man, we're almost to the end here. We are looking at Justice League America number 50, Justice League Europe number 26 from May of 1991. Only a couple issues, or we'll say a couple episodes left after this one. Justice League America, we're rounding out the General Glory storyline as they take on his arch foe, the Evil Eye. And in Justice League Europe, we're getting into their Starro storyline. It's a pretty good one. So let's move Europe out of the way for just a moment. Let's dive into Justice League America. Now, this is a big 50th issue, so there's a little extra. It's double-sized. This one is, the first story is from Giffen and DeMatteis and Linda Medley doing the art chores. It's called A Blaze of Glory. So basically, General Glory has been thrown in prison. It is claimed that at the end of World War II, he took out a POW camp and killed everybody there, including Allied prisoners of war. Does that sound like something General Glory would do? Well, he has no memory of those events. Doesn't sound like something he would do, but he can't definitively say that he didn't. So he's in prison, thrown there partly by his former sidekick, Ernie Ernest, the Battling Boy, now Major Ernest of the U.S. Army, who bears some resemblance to Nick Fury. But also, not just by him, but also by the guy who used to be the head of, sort of like the FBI at the time, who was General Glory's former boss. So he's thrown in jail in this prison, and a hole is blown into the wall by this thing here. This big metal object is the Evil Eye, and the guy piloting it is the Evil Eye. Let's see what happens. So we start off really with a great big fight, which is pretty awesome because it is a comic book. General Glory is ready to dive right into battle along with Martian Manhunter. We have Guy Gardner, Orion, Light Ray. Blue Beetle is in the shuttle with Ice. There's Green Flame, sorry. Ice is in there along with Mr. Miracle and his new apprentice, Shiloh. So they start battling. General Glory, I keep wanting to call him Cap. General Glory grabs this boulder, throws it at the thing. Of course, that doesn't necessarily do a whole lot to it. But he gets yelled at here by Major Ernest. He goes, "You can't go out there. You are still under arrest. You can't just run off and fight every supervillain who happens to come along in a motorized eye." We got Blue Beetle strafing the object. We got Shiloh freaking out about the object being strafed. We got the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles getting both a pizza and a cereal delivery. That's called Living, Boys and Girls. Ooh, it's here, Dungeons and Dragons. Well, the Evil Eye is going to have his revenge. He launches the anti-General Glory bomb missile. Boom, it explodes. Hurled himself away, though, just in time. He's escaped with his life, but he is kind of a little bit knocked out. He says, "Hey, I was careless. I never would have made that mistake in the old days." And what do we get from Major Ernest back there? "Still can't stop talking to yourself, can you? You were forever explaining why things were happening as if everyone else was too stupid to figure it out for themselves. Ernie, you don't need that gun from me, little pal. Don't call me that. I'm not your kid's sidekick anymore. I'm a 60-year-old man." Now, what he's talking about is, yeah, they tended to narrate events in Golden Age comics. You saw it a lot in old kids shows as well, like from Hanna-Barbera, the more action-oriented shows, which I think was maybe a holdover from kids' adventure shows on the radio, where, of course, you had to do that because you didn't have a picture. But then, with the Hanna-Barbera cartoons, you did have a picture. Maybe you didn't need it so much, but they still kind of kept doing it. And here, the two, former comrades, now maybe sort of enemies, kind of have it out. With him saying, "Look, Ernie, there's no way that I could have done that." And he's like, "You've betrayed everything that you ever believed." He goes, but I didn't. "I've seen the evidence with my own eyes, traitor. Now, come on, back to your Ernie. Even if what you say is true, I can't go back in there now. We can't go back. That's the Evil Eye up there. One of the greatest threats to freedom we've ever faced. This is our fight. More than anyone else, we have to be the ones to stop him. Just like we stopped him in London, Paris, and Berlin." I'll turn myself over to you after he's down, Ernie, but please, in the name of freedom, let's get that Ratsy. And yeah, he does actually say Ratsy there. Love the image here of Major Ernest with the down-looking face. Again, a staple of Golden Age comics when somebody was feeling low or feeling betrayed. You had a lot of those with Batman and Robin. A lot of stories back then where one thinks the other one is, going to dump him as partner and go off on his own or go off with somebody else. I remember Batman being upset because he thought Robin likes Superman better than me. Look, again, these are written for kids back then. So, seems a little goofy for adults, but it's something that kids totally get, where you think, your best friend wants to be friends with somebody else and you think you lost them and all that kind of stuff. At any rate. All right, let's do it. Yeah, Major Ernest says, let's get in there. But when we're done, traitor, I'm going to see you hanging from the highest tree there is. So he hasn't forgiven him completely, but they are going to go in and try to stop the evil eye. We have Ernest there shooting at it. We have him going straight after the shuttle. Luckily, the good guys get away from it quickly enough and decide maybe we need to take her back up. But Ice now is involved. There's Guy Gardner. Go for it, babe. In the end, Orion finally ends the fight, and he does it in a sort of over-the-top manner, as you would expect from Orion. There we have him. Boom. And yeah! So he's going down here, by the way. Rocketeer, June 21st. In my opinion, it's got to be in the top 5 of superhero movies ever made, especially if you're thinking in terms of ones that got it right. Excellent job. The fact that Dave Stevens was lurking around, even when the studio did not want him there, is a big reason of why it probably worked so well. So the evil eye goes down, and he is trapped under some of the wreckage. He's not going to make it. Look, I don't expect me to feel bad here. This guy is pure evil. But what we find out is the real story behind General Glory and the so-called crimes that he committed. Turns out that this guy, this scientist, and that's him, obviously he's kind of meant to be based on the Red Skull, he is discovered by Jack Sharp, that head of the federal, I don't think it was the FBI, I think it was the CBI, whatever they wanted to call it. He's recruited to work for him, and they get along pretty darn well, and they kind of come up with this plan to get revenge on General Glory for him. But for Jack Sharp was interested in Louise, General Glory's girl, and wanted to get him out of the way. And so they come up with the plan to inject him with that stuff and dump him in, the Arctic. And of course they retrieve him, and they did a deal on his memory so we wouldn't know what was going on exactly. They actually talk about that a little bit later in the issue, but that's the basic idea. So we get the confession here, and what is finally figured out is he's innocent. He didn't do these things. You can see that Ernest is still having a little bit of trouble with the whole thing. We do have a moment here with Guy being obnoxious to Shiloh, and Mr. Miracle being like, well, we called you an amateur because you're an amateur, kid. Just deal with it. So Major Ernest goes in to confront Jack Sharp about all of this. This is some images from the last General Glory comic story that was written, that was hidden. There we have Louise, the girl that he really wanted. He apparently shoots Major Ernest, but it's a rather interesting glow around him when he takes the hit, and that's because, of course, he was protected by Guy Gardner. Everybody's there. They've heard the confession. We now actually see the last General Glory story with them injecting him with this serum to sort of knock him out, basically. They made him think it was so he could survive the winter conditions. Knocks him out. They retrieve the body. Here we have all these people celebrating the end of the war, but he, who has lost his memory, is just sort of wandering through it. And I got to say, good job on sort of duplicating the Kirby style, the face with the huge mouth in the foreground. You know, it's maybe not as exact a duplication of his work as you would get from Ron Frenz and those Thor comics that he did, but it's pretty darn good. So back home, Guy Gardner has invited General Glory to join the League officially. And Martian Manhunter is like, whoa, 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 whoa. You don't have the right to do that. That's got to come through me and Max, etc. But turns out it's a lucky day for General Glory because Orion is out. He can't stand being anymore with these, you know, with a guy like Guy Gardner and all of these weak, you know, peaceful people in the League. Also, there was a new God series that was coming, so he had to leave for that. Light Ray goes with him. They're down 2 people. So enter General Glory and maybe enter Shiloh, who Mr. Miracle still says he's not ready for this. He's not ready for this. And we end this story with Guy Gardner on the phone to DC Comics telling them their art sucks and they need to hire his guy, Joe Mason. Yes, the man who drew the General Glory. You need to get this guy in there. And they're like, they're not budging him. So he's going to pay a little trip, a little visit to the people at DC Comics. So we get this disclaimer. The following story is offered without editorial comment by Kyle Baker, who is solely responsible for any and all of the libelous depictions contained therein. P.S. to our loyal fans, this will never, ever happen again for at least another 50 issues. Postscript, commercial consideration for Mr. Bright. Community that. So this is this little story, which is sort of a chance to, and as they call it, an imaginary tale, to sort of make fun of the people who make this comic book in this rather interesting style. It's like a little bit Edgar Allan Poe, a little bit Father Guido Sarducci. Am I right on this one? Okay. So, and basically it is Guy Gardner showing up and he's going to foist Joe Mason on them, whether they want him or not. It's kind of funny. It's kind of cute. It maybe runs a little bit longer than it needs to, but it all comes down to them saying, look, you know, this isn't how we do stuff anymore. It's kind of a play on the new fancy, serious way they do comics versus the old way that comics were done, you know, when they sold a lot more issues than, well, anyways, we won't get into that. We get to see the current artist on the Justice League book, Linda Medley, and how the artists are treated, all of them chained to their desks. But what they find out is that the chains actually come right off. These people actually like this kind of treatment. She's crying because Guy has told her he's freed her. You don't have to draw the book anymore. You're free. She's, well, I want to make comics. They all want to make comics. You know, and the reality for a lot of these artists back in the day was they did want to make comics. And they didn't always get paid that great by DC or Marvel, or treated all that great by DC or Marvel. And so it's a little commentary on that. But at any rate, cute, nice, neat. You know, I could have maybe gone for a backup story involving Blue Beetle and Booster Gold or something, but whatever. It's not bad, but it's just kind of cute. It's a little extra thrown in to the book. Okay, let's take a look here at Justice League Europe. And the Starro thing, we'll zip through this one relatively quickly. So basically, the League gets to this. They're talking to this guy who's come from an English village. He has the Starro thing on his face, but he does not seem to be controlled by Starro. And so he says, I need your help. You need to come with me. They decide to go and help. And what they discover is that, and here we see Catherine and Sue looking up information on Starro's past with the League. And remember, he's one of the very earliest villains that they ever dealt with for the Justice League. But they decide to go up north to see what needs to be done. Meanwhile, Inspector Camus finds out that not only is he going to be, working with the superhuman investigations arm of Interpol, he's going to have an office in the embassy. Oh, he's real thrilled about that. And the League isn't going to be real thrilled about it either. So they head up north, and what they basically find out is that Starro has sort of taken over this town. But he's not really controlling people. At least they're all going, well, how would you know if you were being controlled? He's using all of those little starfish to enable himself to communicate with them. His ship has crashed, and he needs the Justice League's help. Well, really, he needs Kilowog's help to repair it so he can leave Earth and never return. By the way, the art is Bart Sears, of course, writing by Giffen and Jones. Okay, so they decide, well, I guess we're going to help this guy to get him off of the planet. So Kilowog is going to repair the ship. He goes about doing that. Here we have Catherine discovering that Camus is going to be staying with them. Again, not real thrilled with any of that. And he meets the cat. He's not real thrilled about that. So they do manage to fix the ship. Okay, good enough. Time for Starro to leave. And in fact, once it's fixed, the little star creatures fall off of everybody's faces. He kept his word. Of course, once they fall off, they kind of shrivel into nothing, sort of dissolve. So, click, they launch the ship, and they have liftoff. Excellent, wonderful. Gets a little ways up, and it explodes. And the people in this village who just adore Starro, he's so great, he really won their hearts, they're not real pleased. They're attacking folks. Meanwhile, in London, presumably not super far away from this village, people look up in the sky, and thousands, maybe millions, of these stars are falling from the sky onto their faces, including one on this homeless guy in particular. So what's happened here? Well, was this by design? Was this an accident? Either way, Starro has just conquered London. And it appears that this homeless guy, as he says, only a beggar today, you will be a king tomorrow. He has received the maybe most important star of them all. Next, never trust a stranger. Oh, wow. Tomorrow you will be our king. 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 So, interesting little wrinkle there with an old-time villain. So fun when they can bring him back, and it's nice when they come up with a new angle for an old villain. And I think they have a pretty good angle with Starro, as we will see over the next couple issues. It will take the next couple issues to finish this story off. We're going to get 2 issues after this that are more one-shot. And the reason is, as they're finishing this one up, or as it does finish up, they're going to be launching into a 15-part kind of crossover miniseries between the 2 books called Breakdowns. That was essentially Giffen and DeMatteis leaving the series. So this is sort of their final hurrah. It wraps a few things up, etc. So, a couple more issues to resolve the Starro thing. And so these guys who have just finished up the General Glory thing are going to have a couple just one-shot sort of issues, maybe a little more comical, a little more character work than big-time superhero action. Well, we'll see as we do those 2 review videos. So, overall, I liked the General Glory storyline. I think they did a pretty good job of saluting Captain America and Golden Age comics. Yes, they ribbed the stuff a little bit. They made fun of it a little bit, but I think in a friendly way. Again, kind of weird how many Avengers emulators there are now in the Justice League, where we have a Blue Jay and the Silver Sorceress, who are basically Scarlet Witch and Ant-Man, and we have General Glory, Captain America, all of them now serving with Justice League International, I guess we should say. It seems, like I said, that if people were working at Marvel, they wanted to do DC characters, and if they were working at DC, they wanted to do Marvel characters, or at least do a salute to them. Maybe that's actually easier too. If you want to do a salute to Golden Age Captain America, you can't necessarily do that at Marvel. You can't make a fake Captain America at Marvel because they got the real deal. So I guess you got to be at DC while you do your fake, did I say Marvel? Your fake Captain America character. Kind of makes sense. But basically we get a good three-part storyline in Justice League Europe. A lot of action. How are they going to defeat Starro? It's your pretty basic superhero kind of comic stuff, which they did a really good job of in this series while they were also telling jokes. Okay. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you enjoyed this, please give it a like, subscribe, share with a friend. Like I said, I've been doing Justice League Monday all year long, starting, I think actually maybe January 1st. I'm not positive, but I think it might have been January 1st. It is running till the end of this year. And then next year, we're going to do a different series on Mondays. Stay tuned for that. In the meantime, God bless everybody. Please be kind to one another. Have a little bit of fun out there. And I will see you again, hopefully soon, in Dad's Den of Pop Culture. Bye-bye.